The Shasta people, bands, families, and clans from all regions of our Aboriginal territories are here in spirit for the purpose of protecting our historical villages, burial grounds, our spiritual and historical sites, and our customs and culture, since our people occupied these territories, of which Medford is in the middle of, time immemorial. While I was with the Karuk as a councilman, I helped draft a gaming compact with the state of California. While serving as vice chairman of the Shasta Nation, I take great pride in being part of thwarting the last reservation shopping tribe, the Alturas Rancheria, from opening their already built casino in Wairika. No other Native American Indian tribe, including the Coquille, has gaming rights within the Shasta People's Aboriginal territory. By the city of Medford endorsing the proposed Coquille Casino within Shasta Territory, Medford leaders would transfer rights from the Shasta people to a distant tribe that's sole purpose for being here is monetary gain with no regards to the Shastas. This would be done without due process or cooperation and coordination with the Shasta people, thus greatly diminishing the Shasta people's fishing, water, hunting rights, creating significant impacts to the socioeconomic, cultural, and spiritual health of the Shasta people. The Shasta people and the Coquille tribe have a genuine level of respect for each other with regards to Native American ancestral territories, and agree that the Coquille tribe is reservation shopping. It is our understanding that Oregon Governor John Kitzhaber has opposed off-reservation shopping. Last Tuesday, the Coquille stated that they're trying to open their casino in Shasta lands, Medford, for the purpose of survival, should some future Cascadia event take place. I would suggest they build a casino on higher ground within their own territory. The Coquille also claim that they are not interested in opening a Class 3 casino at this time. With my experience and knowledge of Indian gaming, I'm calling the speakers a forked tongue. Sadly, not one time last Tuesday night did I hear mention of the Shasta people, nor even the word Shasta itself. The Coquille also speak of the social and environmental impacts, however, never mentions the social, cultural, and economic impacts to the Shasta people. Honorable members of the Medford City Council, it is a well-known fact that most of our societal problems come from the breakdown of a community. This very community has been partners with the Shasta people from the very first day a white man stepped foot in the Road Valley. Good or bad, we became partners. By signing off on this horrible venture, the city of Medford will be granting preference to a tribe that has never existed here, nor has a direct nexus to these lands. The city of Medford, by endorsing this encroachment, would be tearing a peace blanket with the Shasta people going back to the beginning of this great city. Any allowance of the encroaching and reservation shopping Coquille tribe to conduct business in a governmental way would be nothing short of reckless, scandalous, and a shared arrow of poison with the Coquille tribe to the heart of the Shasta people. Please do not get involved through ignorance into the extermination of the Shasta people through soft genocidal practices. The Coquille, of all people, should very well know better. Be duly advised that this very well could become very litigious and costly to the city of Medford. Thank you for your time.
The tribes also explain that it would need to locate the casino in Medford because its current casino in North Bend would be destroyed by the what's perceived as the inevitable Cascadia event. The tribe provided maps, charts, and graphs to show where its casino located and what lands would be inundated by Cascadia. The city was provided with additional maps that showed lands already held in trust for the tribe within blocks of its existing casino would survive the Cascadia event. So it's difficult for us to support the application with that asserted basis as the need to gain in Medford. The tribe provided the city with a copy of its trust application for 2.42 acres of land. When questioned about its leasing of the neighboring 7+ acres of golf course land was for a Class 3, the tribe represented it didn't have any plans for a Class 3, but that things could change in the future. The testimony we received that it's common for Class 3 establishments to begin as Class 2 facilities. So based on that testimony, it's likely that the tribe would eventually offer that. And then not only is it difficult for us to support Class 2, strong likelihood that we'd ultimately have Class 3 is a major concern. And the tribe has not provided the city with any evidence that it has any connections to Medford. That will probably be edited a little bit. They did provide that their chief worked for the county for 20 some odd years, lives in Ashland. And so they do have some ties, but I think we'll put a modifier in there such as historical or aboriginal. The Restoration Act does describe Jackson County as part of the service area, but service areas are designated on the basis of where tribal members live today, not necessarily their historical locations. The city was presented with evidence from other tribes that the Coquille Tribe does not have aboriginal ties to the area. Other tribal groups that are part of our community attended our public hearing town hall and explained their heritage, people identifying themselves, and this should say Shasta Indian and then Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe explain that their ancestors fought and died and were buried in Medford and Jackson County. And those tribal groups stated that permitting the Coquille Tribe to obtain trust land and operate a casino in Medford would be essentially an affront to their ancestors and their tribal sovereignty and traditions that exist within and without federal regulations. So it's difficult for us to support a casino when tribes that have long been members in the community are strongly opposed to that development.
During the noon hour, Mr. Cucamonte from the Coquille Economic Development Council came up here and encouraged us not to make the same mistake as Jackson County. Towards that end, I would submit to you, Mr. Cucamonte, that the Shasta Tribe and the Cow Creek Tribe probably think you're making a big mistake too. You suggested to us that you wanted the same access as local businesses. You have had the same access. You cannot be treated the same as a local business because you are a sovereign nation. We've heard a lot about monopolies. The only monopolies that exist are with the tribes and their ability to have gambling in the state of Oregon. If any of you wanted to open your own casino, Mayor, during the noon session, you inquired about why they couldn't do some other form of economic development because they can't make as much money. Simple as that. I agree the approval process is flawed. In seeking restored lands, it should be a two-part determination process. As far as the Aboriginal land, we have no great sense of that history. There's too much information here. I'm going to support the motion.
My understanding is that under the Indian Gaming Act, the governor has basically created a compact. Is that a fair statement?
If that helps, but I'd like to know where you're going with it.
Where I'm going with it is that I believe, from my reading of the evidence, the record, and the testimony, that this application is setting a precedent in terms of its uniqueness that might well have impact beyond our borders within the state of Oregon. And I believe that that's one area of this document that at least I haven't found it, but is a significant concern of mine going forward. I guess I take a little different view. From my understanding of what cases exist on this topic, the more clear that the council can be at the beginning of this process, the better we are in the legal process later on. I think this is a time for clarity, so I have no problem with the way this is being structured. But I am concerned about the fact that Medford is not North Bend, and this is not a zero-sum game. This is I view this economic proposal as essentially creating positives in one area, negatives in others, no net benefit, and the kind of economic development that I'm not comfortable with going forward for the city of Medford.
Throughout this whole process, something that bugs me, I think the federal government has enough land in Jackson County. You look region-wide, we've got lots of issues with the feds taking our land and saying, we'll compensate you for it, and 10, 20, 50 years down the road, it doesn't work out for us. So
early on, I thought this was going to be a real simple yes or no, and whatever we determined it would happen, because that's normally how things work with us, unless the state interferes with us. I wasn't figuring on the federal government. And my first impression was, hey, this is really an economic development opportunity. I'm talking over 200 jobs directly, and based on the information that we received from the Coquilles, at least we're talking about probably with the indirect jobs, probably over 500 new jobs in Medford. We're really depressed. We're having a hard time coming out of it. And I said, wow, what an opportunity. How naive I can be. There's a lot more to this. We talked about, economic development, but, think about Saturday night, and if you have, you're a couple living in Medford, maybe kids or something, I don't know, but you got $100. So I'm going to take my spouse out for dinner and a movie. If I had that choice now. You add gambling to that. Am I still going to do the dinner in one of the current establishments in Medford? Am I going to go to that movie in Medford and enjoy the evening? Or am I going to go to the casino? I honestly think that there's a downside for local businesses. And when I hear, again, I'll go back to the 2,000 employees, we know that this is going to, if that's the vision, you know that it's going to be much larger complex than it currently is, and there'll be additional requests in maybe 50 years, maybe 100 years down the line to add additional fee to trust. So I think, Chris, there's a real downside for current Medford businesses over the long term.
I'm glad we took the time instead of a reactionary first blush rejection. Unfortunately, during that time, I've had the freedom to make up my mind as to how I feel about this choice, and I happen to think we need to be clear for all of the legal reasons and the complications that have been discussed, and I'm very pleased that one of our members thought it would be a simple process, but I think we all know now that it isn't. And we do have a choice. We have a choice on behalf of this community as to how we want it to look, as to the pro and con of what might come here. We've been given a bunch of information, and some of it is very much appreciated, and some of it looks woefully inadequate and wrong in terms of the presentations that we've gotten. And some of those have societal impacts. No, we may not be able to change that person's choice or what the state decided to do with gambling, but we do have an opportunity here to determine within our own community how we feel about something. And I'm very comfortable in exercising that comment right now.
I just want to acknowledge, and I want to thank Councilmember Blair. I know this came forward. You were kind of after council with a stick to get on board with some of this, so I want to say thank you. We're kind of slow getting to it, but we got to it. Yes, it's the 11th hour, and thanks to staff as well for getting, all of the work. John, I know you put in a lot of late hours on this, and everybody. So a lot of good work done on this, and I just want to acknowledge that before we move forward.
If you gamble through the state lottery system, part of that comes back to Medford. We're not telling you if gambling is good or bad. We don't take a position on the morals, but we can direct where the revenue goes. When we look at this application, it's not a local group. It's citizens of Medford that are putting money into the machine, and it's coming out somewhere else. When you look at the various federal laws that have been passed dealing with Indian gaming, the theory seems to be we're allowing it because they're taking some of the strain off the government. The way I understand this proposal, that doesn't take any strain off Jackson County, it doesn't take any strain off Medford, and I'd probably feel different if it was local and they could say, there's 1,000 people that are on county services and we're going to be able to take care of them. I'd think differently about it because I do agree with you 100%. It's not our position to get up here and talk about morals, and I'm glad that we don't speak to morals in the resolution.
I guess I have a strange sense of what economic development is, and the term is bandied about rather loosely, that the casino is going to be an economic driver. Quite frankly, what I think of as economic development is a sports park. I think of economic development as what we did with the Commons with Lithia, what's happening with One West Main, and other kinds of things. I think a pool would be an economic development, quite frankly, and I would still support a swimming pool. These are activities that are maybe in some cases semi-addictive. If you're a softball player or a soccer player or something else, you're out on the field a lot. But the reality is that this city has worked really hard, very, very hard, to make it very livable, make it where people want to come, work, raise their kids, have a good school system, be able to go to a sports event, do all these other things. And to me, that is the ideal sense of economic development. I look at gambling, and I'm with Mr. Gordon. I have gambled, and so and we even gamble in our own businesses sometimes, quite frankly. I mean, that's part of the capitalist society that we live in too. We take chances, but nonetheless, I think that we need to look at, and we can't legally say livability. It's like compatibility. We've been through the compatibility issue for a long time, and I'm glad we're not going there either. But I think, from a standpoint of economic development, this is the type of thing that tends to pull things out of the community to a certain degree and cause other issues. And I just don't think this is what we want to see in Medford. And I think the ability to have our say as we go through these different impact studies, that the two-part approach will allow the governor of Oregon, who has at least been pretty vocal in his feelings on this, will possibly have a say. And I think that's very important. But I think we should take charge of our own city too. And so I think we're heading in the right direction at this point. And we need to keep our legal options open so that when if we go to court, or if we end up at a federal level where we have to make our case, we've made our case at this level, and we can carry it forward. We have a motion and a second. We've made our changes. Any additions or corrections to those? Mr. Huddle has as he put it, the colloquy from the council. If there's no further discussion, I think we should probably go ahead and cast our ballot. Linda, if you call the roll, please.
John Michaels?
Yes.
Al Densmore?
Yes.
Karen Blair? Yes. Daniel Dunn?
Yes.
Chris Corcoran?
Yes.
Dick Gordon?
Yes.
Bob Strasser?
Yes.
Eli Matthews?
Yes.